Good evening, parents and students of the Muroc Joint Unified School District. My name is Kevin Cordes. I'm the district superintendent, and it's a pleasure to address you this evening. I want to express appreciation to everyone that participated this week in the survey that we sent out. We are gathering data at this point just to gauge where people are and how they feel and their comfortability as we explore options to be able to come back to in-person instruction as soon as possible. Thank you for that. We're still gathering data, and we will share out information later on once we have a full picture on all of that. So again, thank you, and feel free to leave more comments. It's always great when we do a survey like this because we tend to get a lot more comments. So thank you for those that did that as well. A reminder for those that utilize food service on base, we have moved that due to construction from Desert High School to Bailey Elementary School. If you have any questions, just take a look at the webpage and there's plenty of information there related to that. I just want to address a couple of things that came up in the comments this week before we head off on what is a 4-day weekend. When we're not in school in person, the holidays can get a little confusing, but this is a 4-day weekend. We're out tomorrow and Monday. But a couple things came up in the comments that I'd like to address. There was a couple of comments that were asked about Black History Month. We have always integrated that into the curriculum, especially during the month of February. So there were some questions about maybe there haven't been as many lessons or something along those lines. You should be seeing lessons related to Black History Month. And if you have any questions specifically to that, I would encourage you to reach out to your child's teacher and ask them about that as well. We had some comments about coming back to school naturally since we asked the survey questions, and a lot of interest in coming back, especially for elementary school. Is what we saw. And there was a comment made by one parent that I know is not singular to them. I think there are many people that feel this way. The question was about why we're not back, and there was a comment or two related to other places in the country or in other countries in the world. Students are back at school and things seem to be going well for them. And I just wanted to speak to that for a moment. So as I'm sure that you're aware, education is controlled at the state level, and every state has the ability and the opportunity to decide how education is governed in their state. There's a lot of differences state to state. One really big one that stands out as an example is the state of Texas. When they go to make a curriculum adoption, when they adopt a textbook, say a math book, Texas adopts the math book, and then every school district and every public school in Texas utilizes that textbook. In California, that's left up to every individual school district. So there are a lot of differences state to state. And then also when it comes to healthcare, that's a big statewide personal consideration as well. So where we find ourselves in California is our neighboring states and other places throughout the nation and maybe in the world are doing things that we are not, but that's because we live in California. We're governed by the rules, the laws, the regulations, and expectations that are set forth for us by the legislature, by the governor, and we must abide by those. And quite honestly, what we've seen recently is the rules that we have been given to follow have been changed afterwards. And that's been frustrating and confusing for not just our district, but districts up and down the state. We made some strides in November to decouple ourselves from county metrics so that we could start to come back safely and controlled, careful manner. And the rules were changed recently by the governor so that you had to have brought back an entire grade level to be able to do what we were told we could do. And it's things like that really make it frustrating, make it difficult for us to have a path moving forward. And that's just an example of why you see school districts throughout California making announcements and then making about opening school or doing something related to students and then having to retract those later. So a lot of regulatory adjustments are being made this week. The CDC is expected to come out and have some new guidelines. We're hearing that we heard that they were supposed to come out yesterday on Wednesday, and now we're hearing that tomorrow is supposed to be the target date that we'll hear some information. There was some information released today from the CDC related to those that have been vaccinated and when they would need to go home if there was a direct exposure contact with them. We expect to see a lot more information coming from them, but that's just one regulatory agency that we must follow. Then we look at state guidelines and then the Kern Health Department as well. And there's a lot of rules and a lot of things that we have to follow. So technically, we are back and functioning. We come back in phases. Our first phase was with our special day class, special education students. We are right now exploring to be able to expand special ed services for in-person instruction. After that, we would do like every other school district up and down the state is doing. We would look to bringing back our youngest students first, and in a phased manner, bringing back elementary school students. And at this point, all that our school district can do is come back in what is called the cohort model. And that is, it is all of the ways to come back are obviously more restrictive than we are used to with in-person instruction. That is definitely the most restrictive. And again, we were told that we would not have to follow that model if we decoupled back in the fall when Kern County was in the red tier, which we did. And then the rules were changed and we're no longer able to behave as if we had decoupled. So rather than being able to come back under an opening plan and being able to bring perhaps more students back or have a little bit more flexibility, we are left with the cohort model. And that limits us to 16 individuals per class. That includes adults and students. So just that right there becomes difficult to manage. But nevertheless, what we are looking at is what can we do? And we're also taking a close look at when vaccines are coming through. Educators are listed as 1B in the priority list, and right now there are not enough vaccines to get enough vaccines to those that are frontline healthcare workers, which are considered 1A, and also those that are ahead of us in the 65 or older category. So educators are behind those two main groups right there, and we're closely monitoring when we can also offer vaccines or have vaccines offered to us, I should say. We don't offer those, but when we can have those offered to us, which assists in being able to reopen schools as well. So I definitely appreciate that throughout the country we see different states behaving differently, and some states students are back. In many states, perhaps we could say that they are back and operating much differently than we are. But that's because that's a statewide decision, and states have those rights to govern that, and we are part of the state government. We follow those rules and those laws and those regulations, and if we didn't, we would be shut down. So what we're doing is we're doing the very best that we can with what we are given, and we want to thank you for your partnership. We understand that there is a lot of fatigue. None of us in education got into this business to do it in this way, but we are doing it. We're doing our very level best. And your expectation for your children, for public education, was never this, but you're doing your level best. And the students sure didn't expect to do this, but every day we see students logging in and doing their best. And we just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for understanding. We're always welcome to answer more specific questions if you have any. Feel free to reach out to us and let us know if we can help you with any other maybe more particular questions that you would have related to how we open or when we plan to do so. It's not that we don't have a plan, it's that we have many different plans. We're waiting to see which one we can implement in the safest and and quickest possible manner as we can. So again, thank you for all that you do. We hope that you enjoy your 4-day weekend, and we will be back next week, and we're going to continue right now on the path that we're on with distance learning. And just know that we are doing everything that we can to bring the students back to school for in-person instruction as soon and as safely as we possibly can. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.